Working, Prabhu? The thing is working now? All good, okay. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarjaka Stotra Sata Shishmat. His Divine Grace I.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Gaura Nityai ki, Jai Shri Shri Radha Vallabh ki, Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Sudarmai ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinde ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 5, chapter number 18, text number 13. And the chapter is titled as The Residents of Jambudvipa Offer Prayers. The Residents of Jambudvipa Offer Prayers. Let's look at the verse 13 today. Harirhi Shakshad Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jhasanam Evatoyam Ipsitam Hitva mahamstam yadi sajjate grehe tada mahatvam vaya asadam patinam Harirhi Shakshad Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jhasanam Ivato Yamipsitam Hitva Mahamstam Yadi Sajjate Grehe Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Patinam Hariri Shakshad Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jhasanam Ivato Yamipsitam Hitva Mahamstam Yadi Sajjate Grehe Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Patinam Hariri Shakshad Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jhasanam Ivato Yamipsitam Hitva Mahamstam Yadi Sajjate Grehe Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Patinam Harirhi Shakshad Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jhasanam Ivato Yamipsitam Hitva Mahamstam Yadi Sajjate Grehe Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Patinam Harirhi Shakshad Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jhasanam Ivato Yamipsitam Hitva Mahamstam Yadi Sajjate Grehe Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Patinam Harirhi Shakshad Bhagavan Sharirinam Atma Jhasanam Ivato Yamipsitam Hitva Mahamstam Yadi Sajjate Grehe Tada Mahatvam Vayasadam Patinam. Thank you. Harir, the Lord. He, certainly. Shakshad, directly. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sharirinam, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies. Atma, the life and soul. It's interesting, na? Prabhupada translates Atma here as the life and soul. Generally we see Atma as life, Atma is soul. Or Prabhupada would say Atma is mind sometimes. But Atma, Prabhupada says life and soul. Maybe he was meditating on his spiritual master at that time. It's pretty interesting. Jhasanam, of the aquatics. What is Jhasanam? Of the aquatics. Just remember this, because this is the theme of the talk today. Jhasanam, aquatics. Later on we'll talk about Jhasanam, aquatics. Iva, like. Toyam, the vast water. Ipsitam, is desired. Hitva, giving up. Mahan, a great personality. Tam, him. Yadi, if. Sajjate becomes attached. Sajjate is becomes attached. So remember this as well. So Jhasanam was the water and Sajjate is become attached. Yeah. So two things to remember for now. Yeah. Grehe to the householder life. So now we can connect it together. Sajjate grehe, attached to the householder life. That's the theme of the talk. Tada, at that time. Mahatvam, greatness. Vayasa, by age. Dampatinam, of the husband and wife. That Dampatinam, that Dampati is another famous Hindi word, Dampati, we say Dampatinam, of the husband and wife. Okay, so translations and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki? Translation. Just as the aquatics always desire to remain in the vast mass of water, all conditioned living entities naturally desire to remain in the vast existence of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, if someone very great by material calculation fails to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, Supreme Soul, but instead becomes attached to the material household life, his greatness is like that of a young, low-class couple. One who is too attached to material life loses all good spiritual qualities. Purport. Let's just break down the translation for 30 seconds and then we'll go into the purport. So here Prabhupada, Sukadeva Goswami is talking about just as the aquatics, the source of the aquatics is the water. Because without the water, the aquatics lives cannot sustain, yeah? So that's the Jhasanam water and the aquatics are the aquatic life. So just as the fish cannot survive without the water, similarly the soul is of nowhere without being connected to the Lord. Yeah? So just as the fish, the source of the fish is the water, similarly the source of the soul is the super soul, is the Lord. Yeah? So that's the two things. And then Prabhupada will talk about the aquatic life, then about the soul, human life, and then about the problem, then about the solution. Yeah? So four things. Although crocodiles are very fierce animals, they are powerless when they venture out of water onto land. When they are out of water, they cannot exhibit their original power. So this part was about the aquatic life, that their power is in the water, otherwise they are powerless. So similarly, now the comparison, similarly, the all-pervading Super Soul Paramatma is the source of all living entities, and all living entities are part and parcel of Him. So just as the fish is part and parcel of the ocean, the living entity is part and parcel of the vast ocean, which is Krishna. When the living entity remains in contact with all-pervading Vasudev, the personality of Godhead, he manifests his spiritual power exactly as the crocodile exhibits its strength in the water. In other words, the greatness of the living entity can be perceived when he is in the spiritual world, engaged in spiritual activities. So the spark is only bright when it is connected with the fire. The moment the spark is away from the fire, then it's useless. That's what Prabhupada is saying there. Now the problem statement. Many householders, although well educated in the knowledge of the Vedas, becomes attached to the family life. They are compared herein to the crocodiles out of water, for they are devoid of all spiritual strength. Their greatness is like that of a young husband and wife who, though uneducated, praise one another and become attracted to their own temporary beauty. So Prabhupada says here, which is same as the translation, that this thing is like a young, low-class couple. Why young? We'll talk about that. Because normally we say that Grihastha life or Grihamedi life is condemned. When husband and wife are attached to each other and together they are attached to the family is generally not the way of living. But here the example given by Sukadeva Goswami, which Prabhupada expands on, is about the young couple. So why young couple? Why not old couples as well? So we'll talk about that. And remind me if I forget, please. This kind of greatness is appreciated only by low-class men with no qualifications. Now the solution. Everyone should therefore seek the shelter of the Supreme Soul, the source of all living entities. No one should waste his time in the so-called happiness of materialistic household life. In a Vedic civilization, this type of crippled life is allowed only until one's 50th year. Here, when one must give up the family life and enter either the order of vanaprastha, independent, retired life for cultivation of spiritual knowledge, or sannyas, the renounced order in which one completely takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada also says here that one must, this type of crippled life is allowed. Crippled life, the householder life, Prabhupada says is crippled life. Pretty strong actually today's purport. Om Ajnanati Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so today we will be, I will be speaking in almost 4 or 5 parts. Section 1 we will talk about the context of what is this fitting in the, because there is a new episode in the Bhagavatam in Canto 2 from the last few chapters. So we'll talk about that. So I'll try to set the scene for myself and for those who kind of like the connection from one section to the other, what is happening. So that theme setting, that's one part. And then this prayer is from Narasimha, from Prahlada Maharaj to Narasimha Dev. So we will talk about Prahlada Maharaj and we will talk about Narasimha prayer today as well. I just want to talk about the Narasimha prayer. So that's 3. And then 4th one, we will talk about what Prabhupada is trying to educate us, elucidate us on the purport. So that's the 4th part. And then maybe we'll have the 5th part as well, which is the solution to the problem. And maybe the 6th as well, because today is a very auspicious day. A lot of important events are there today. So time permitting, we'll talk about that, or at least I'll mention that very briefly. Yeah. So let's start with the context setting. So Canto 5, we are reading of Bhagavatam. Canto 5 can be divided into 2 sections. Section 1, which we have been seeing for so long now, is about the dynasty of King Priyavrata. So we started right from chapter 1 about King Priyavrata and his wonderful activities, and then all his descendants and their wonderful activities. Some of the great personalities that we saw as we were reading and unfolding and unpacking the pastimes of King Priyavrata, and I noted it down, was Priyavrata himself. Then we talked about Agnidhara. Now these names might ring a bell. Then we talked about Agnidhara. Then we talked about King Nabhi. Then we talked about King Rishabdev, Lord Rishabdev himself. Then we talked about Bharat. Then we talked about Bharat Maharaj when he came back as Jat Bharat. Then we talked about King Gaya. And that was the last, almost the last personality that we saw in that particular episode of Bhagavatam. So all the beautiful, amazing pastimes, of all those different exalted devotees in that dynasty. Part B of Canto 2 is about the geographical creation. The question that Parikshit Maharaj has asked when Sukadeva Goswami was talking about the dynasty of King Priyavrata, Maharaj Parikshit registered everything. He didn't need any external hard drive, so he was absorbing everything verbatim. One of the things that he has picked up is that, Sukadeva Goswami, you said that Priyavrata traversed the entire creation, and his chariot made different marks in different regions. So can you please tell me about all those different creation, and where did King Priyavrata go on his chariot and all that thing. So that leads Sukadeva Goswami to talk about the second section of Bhagavatam, which is all about the geographical locations, arrangements, the Bhumandala, the Bharatvarsha, Jambudvipa, all those things. Now, to be honest, I don't understand all that things fully. It's too complicated, the whole structure. So we just hope one day, we are able to go to the temple of Vedic Planetarium and then see exactly how these things are exhibited. Prabhupada gave us some ideas about the chandelier and how those things hang. So when you read this Bhagavatam, these things start coming to mind, that how all these things is arranged. Very, very technical, But what we will do, we will just understand how this text fits in this context, and then just expand on that. Yeah. So, in response to that question, Sukadeva Goswami says that, and I'll have to refer to my notes because I don't know this often. What Sukadeva Goswami says that the Bhumandala, which is the creation, is divided into 7 islands. And those 7 islands resemble a lotus flower with 7 different petals. So that's our Bhumandala, which resembles a lotus flower with 7 different petals. So that's the Bhumandala. The Bhumandala has got 9 different varshas. Now varshas are like the divisions of land. So there's Bhumandala with, not 9, with 7 different islands, 7 different islands, which is the 7 different petals. What are these 7 different islands? I'll read it out. Jambu Dvipa, Palaksha Dvipa, Salmali Dvipa, Kusha Dvipa, Karunucha Dvipa, Saka Dvipa, and Pushkara Dvipa. So those are your 7 Dvipas. Now within each Dvipa, there are different subdivisions, varshas. And at the moment we are zooming into Jambu Dvipa, which has got 9 varshas. And what are the 9 varshas? The Ilavrita Varsha, Hari Varsha, Kuru Varsha, Hiranmaya Varsha, Ramyaka Varsha, Ketumala Varsha, Bharatsva Varsha, Kim Purusha Varsha, and Bharat Varsha. Then what we know, so let's just talk about these varshas for now. How many varshas are there? 9. Yeah? 7 Dvipas, 9 varshas. Bhumandala has got 7 Dvipas, 9 varshas. In the 9 varshas, what this section of Bhagavatam does, from the second half of the last chapter, which was 17, till the first half of the next chapter, which is 19, is talking about prayers from individual personalities in each of these varshas. So therefore there are 9 varshas and there will be 9 prayers. Is it? In chapter 17, in the last chapter, we saw the first prayer from Lord Shiva to the presiding deity of that varsha, who was Lord Shankarshan. So we saw that at the back end of the last chapter, chapter 17. And in the next chapter, chapter 19, we will see, I think there was 1 or 2, let me just check. There will be 2 more prayers. So 2 in the next chapter, 1 in the last chapter. So that's 3. Therefore, in this chapter, there has to be 5 prayers. Is it? So far in this chapter, we have seen, or we are seeing the second prayer, which is the first prayer in this chapter, is the prayer from Parikshit Maharaj to Narasimha Dev. From Prahlad Maharaj, thanks for the correction. From Prahlad Maharaj to Narasimha Dev. And we have been seeing this in the last 7 or 8 verses, this particular prayer going on. So what was the prayer? Let's quickly just recap the prayer. What did Prahlad Maharaj say to Narasimha Dev? And today we are at the second last verse of Prahlad Maharaj's prayer to Narasimha Dev. And tomorrow we will conclude with the prayer, whoever is speaking tomorrow. So what have we seen so far? In verse number 8, we started with Prahlad Maharaj paying his obeisances to Narasimha Dev. Now this is, I could be incorrect here, but just as I'm studying Bhagavatam, I have noticed, and that helps me as well in my understanding and comprehension of Bhagavatam. Whenever there are prayers offered by exalted devotees, there are at least, that's why I say I stand corrected, because I've seen there are at least 3 aspects of the prayer. And those 3 aspects can be in any particular order. 1, there will be, of course, obeisances in the prayer. 2, there will be glorification, whoever the prayer is to, generally the Vishnu Tattva, so there will be glorification. And 3rd will be the benediction of what they want in the prayer. So obeisances, glorification and benediction. And it could be either way around. It could be benediction, glorification. Generally actually starts with obeisances, but sometimes it ends with obeisances as well. And then the benediction. The benediction will of course not be anything material. The benediction, when the prayers are by the pure devotees, will of course always be, whatever they request will be always spiritual. And definitely, something that can help the person who is praying to intensify his Krishna consciousness. And as well as the intensification of the Krishna consciousness of the general populace. So here, what does happen? In Prahlad Maharaj's prayer, it starts with verse 8, which is the obeisances. In 9, and this is all we have already seen it, in the last week or so. In verse 9, he talked about that let everybody be non-envious, so that they can start practicing Bhakti Yoga. Because to practice Bhakti Yoga, we have to be Nirmatsaranam Satam. We should not be envious. In text 10 he said that let everybody have attachment to the devotees. Why attachment to the devotees? Because when we have attachment to the devotees, then what will come out of that is Krishna Katha. Because three things are required for a good discussion. A good speaker who is a devotee, a good hearer who is a devotee, and the content should be Krishna Katha. No? Three elements are required. Because we can have two devotees talking about Gramya Katha, then that's not beneficial. So although it's the speaker is devotee and the hearer is devotee, but if the Katha is about coronavirus, okay, sometimes it's useful not to discuss about what's happening in the world, but if it's totally non-devotional, and if it's just definitely anti-devotional, then that Katha is useless, yeah, in one sense. So three elements are required. So here Prahlad Maharaj, why do I keep saying Prahlad Maharaj? I have to say Prahlad Maharaj. I'm getting confused between the two names. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that let me have attachment to the devotees so that they can be Krishna Katha. That's what he is saying. And when Krishna Katha is there, then he is saying in text number 11 that hearing will lead to purification. Hearing will lead to purification. Now this we know. This we know from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying, Tachrunu. We have seen so many places in Bhagavatam, that hearing Krishna Katha leads to intensification of our Krishna consciousness. Hearing itself can be purifying. Hearing and chanting, yeah? Chanting and hearing and chanting. Pravishta karana randrena swanam bhava saroruham dunoti samalam Krishna salilasya yatha sarat. Again, Maharaj Parikshit in Canto 2, Bhagavatam. No? That pravishta karana randrena. When pravishta means to enter. When Krishna Katha enters through the ear hole, pravishta karana randrena swanam bhava saroruham. Then our heart starts getting that bhava, the lotus-like bhava, that we can develop for the Lord. Pravishta karana randrena swanam bhava saroruham dhunoti samalam Krishna. Then when Krishna enters our ear holes, goes straight into the heart, and then it starts dhunoti, then it starts cleaning our heart, cleansing process. No? Anartha nivritti happens. And then we get nishthar and all those other stages of devotional service. So that is the beauty of hearing. And then recently I'm studying this for my exam, so I'll quote this verse as well. Kastripniya tirtha padobhidanat satreshu vasura bhiridyamanat yakarana nadhim purushasya yato bhava pradangehe ratim chinatti. So kastripniya tirtha padobhidanat satreshu vasura bhiridyamanat yakarana nadhim purushasya yato. When Krishna Katha enters through the ear holes, Vidura is saying to Maitreya Muni, Canto 3, when it enters our ear holes, then we get satisfied. There is no satiation in Krishna Katha. There is satisfaction, but there is no satiation. We want more and more. So this is what we are seeing here, the importance of hearing. Then in text number 12 yesterday, which Adipurusha Prabhu was talking about, we saw that the good qualities, Prahlad Maharaj is talking about the good qualities that manifest in devotees. When we are in devotee association and hearing Krishna Katha, then all the good qualities manifest in us that are found in the demigods and perhaps much more. But now then the question becomes, and also there yesterday he said that the non-devotees have no good qualities, which means that even if they have some good qualities, materially speaking, it is temporary in nature. It will eventually come to a cessation. So then the question becomes, that's text number 12 today, and now we are coming into 13, yeah? So 12 was, okay, so there are good qualities in devotees, which resembles those of the demigods. But what about those householders who may be educated, who may even have shastric knowledge, but who are not devotees, who are not doing devotional service, they are not taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. What is their situation? This could be a question. After looking at yesterday's prayer, this could be the question. What is their situation of those grihasthas who are educated even shastrically, but are not doing any devotional service? So then Prahlad Maharaj is saying that their situation is that there may be so-called greatness in their possession. They may be great, so-called greatness. But that greatness is of no use unless it's connected with Hari. Just as the crocodile may be very great, very, very powerful, but it is powerless when it is outside the water. Now, you see the connection from yesterday to today? So just as the crocodile can be very powerful, but it is powerless outside the water, Gajendra pastime. Similarly, a householder, he may be very wealthy, very well educated, may know scriptures, may be very prestigious, may be opulent in the society, but their greatness is of no use because it is not connected to Krishna. That greatness is of no use. And then tomorrow, which will be the last prayer from Prahlada Maharaj, he will say that, given all this, let us surrender to Lord Narasimha Dev. And that's how it will conclude, yeah? So that's setting the scene. Sorry, it took a while, but I kind of just wanted to share that. How does it all fit in? So now we'll talk about Prahlada Maharaj a little bit. What I wanted to talk today about him is that if you look at Prahlada Maharaj's bhakti to Narasimha Dev, and those beautiful prayers here, and more prayers in Canto 9, of course, very, very famous prayers. His bhakti is almost inconceivable to us. The atrocities that he has to go through just to chant Hare Krishna is mind-boggling, With the pain that was inflicted on him by his own biological father is beyond comprehension. So both is incomprehensible in Prahlada Maharaj's Prahlada's pastime. One, a biological father is hell-bent on killing his own son. We look at this at the moment, we are all going through the pandemic and everybody is talking about saving lives, saving lives. Of course, the definition of saving lives given by the modern man is different from our definition of saving life. When they talk about saving life, they talk about that the person should not die, which is of course virtuous. Try to save somebody's life. Our definition, Vedic definition of saving life is not only not dying, but make sure that this is our last life. Or at least saving life means connecting the jiva to the Paramatma, to the super soul, to the Bhagavan. Getting the jiva to the bhakti platform is actually saving life. Otherwise, the jiva is flapping and suffering, outside the water. So anyway, the key is the same, that both are trying to save lives. But here, and parents will always be very, very concerned about their child. If the child is in some danger, or if the child is outside the sight of the father, especially mother, then the parents, when the child is small, the parents start getting very, edgy and nervous to say, is my child safe? So all the effort will be made to save the child, or to make sure, not to save, but to protect the child. But here we see something that is diametrically opposite. The father is making all the arrangements, throwing in all the resources, throwing in all the materials, all the labor, to make sure that the son is dead. That is inconceivable. How can the father be so bad to that extreme of making all the arrangements to kill his own son? Now, equally on the other side, Prahlada Maharaj is, no matter what the situation, I will be devoted to the Lord. Nothing can take me away from the devotion. So much of testing that he has to go through, and he keeps passing each of them. Personally speaking, I might not, I'll probably give up, to be honest, of so much of atrocities. If it's in your own house, what to speak about outside, then many people will probably give up. But so much of inspiration that we can gain from this Prahlada Maharaj pastime of continuing to take that extra step. So much of deep, inconceivable faith that he has in the protection from the Lord, that nothing cares. And of course, we were not there when Prahlada Maharaj was there, so it could be a little bit more too far out for us. But definitely, it was replayed to us by Srila Prabhupada. All those things that he went through, in the Bowery at New York, living with the druggist and all that. When, again, personally speaking, when I went to Tompkins Square Park, and that was only maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I, all the joy about, I'm in New York, and my first exploration is, where Srila Prabhupada went. So I was following the Lilamrita, where did Prabhupada live, the matchless gift, and then walking all those streets exactly to Tompkins Square Park. So I was just so excited to say, that I'll see the park and it will be very, beautiful, and they will be, hopefully I can get some flashback of how Prabhupada would have been sitting and playing that mirdanga that was one-sided only, remember? there was no mirdanga, so Prabhupada was playing on a drum that was only one-sided and asking, disciples to dance and all that. So, but when I entered the park, lo and behold, what I saw is druggists. And Tompkins Square Park is like, there are two entrances to it. Now, previously, of course, Prabhupada's time, it was all druggists. But now, there's like a good part and a bad part of the park, So the good part is when, there are families with children playing and all those kind of things that we see in the parks in Melbourne. But one side of it was still, those junkies, that they call the hippies. They are still sitting there, and then just, my goodness, mostly naked and just sleeping there with tents and all that, and you can just smell the drug in the air. Like, it's just so bad. And I got scared. This is 50 years after Prabhupada has left and crossed that area. When I'm traveling, it's like, oh my God, run for your life. Where is the tree that, Prabhupada sat under to sing the first Harinam in the US now? I'm looking for the tree, but I'm just so scared. But Prabhupada was fearless. At that time, there was nothing, but he was fearless. So this is all inconceivable. How can they, we know the philosophy, but to act is another thing. So anyway, we came out of the park and then went around and then entered the park again, from the right side, when it was all more serene and much more peaceful. So then, of course, there is that tree and all that thing. And there is that placard on the tree that says, I see Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada sat under this tree, So that's just amazing, amazing experience I had. So anyway, so Prahlada Maharaj's devotion is inconceivable, that he can do all that, notwithstanding all the pressure. Now, Narasimha Dev, so when Prahlada Maharaj, of course, appears to protect, Narasimha Dev appears to protect Prahlada Maharaj, Prabhupada gave us this Narasimha prayer. So I just wanted to talk about that prayer as well, in terms of just sing it together and let's understand the meaning. And it will benefit us. Sometimes when we sing things, we don't realize what the meaning is. So maybe just as a refresher. I know all of us know it, but just as a refresher, what does it mean? So Namaste Narasimhaya. Again, I said prayers generally have three components: Dandavats, glorification, and benediction. So we'll see what this prayer, at least some parts of it will be there. So Namaste. Nama means always obeisances. So Namaste Narasimhaya. I'm paying obeisances to Narasimha Dev. Prahlada Daine. So Daine means, to give. And Prahlad is, of course, Prahlad. And Prahlad, Alhad. And Alhadini Shakti, as we say. There is the pleasure potency. So Alhad means to give pleasure. So Narasimha Dev comes to give pleasure to Prahlada Maharaj. So Prahlada Daine. That Narasimha Dev, I'll pay obeisances unto him who gives pleasure to Prahlada Maharaj. Prahlada Daine. Then Hiranyakashi Pur Vakshaha. Vaksha is the chest. So Hiranyakashipu's chest was Hiranyakashipu Pur Vaksha Sila. Sila is stone, we know that. So Hiranyakashipu's chest is like stone, very, very hard. Metaphorically and literally as well. Literally, he must have been very hard because perhaps he was going to the gym, yoga gym, very, very hard. And inside was also very hard, we say hard-hearted, very careless, no feelings, no emotions. So he was very hard-hearted personality. So his heart was like a stone, so Sila. Hiranyakashipu, Por Vakshaha Sila. And then Tanaka Nakhalai. But Lord Narasimha's Nakhal, like his Nakhun, his fingernails, are also very strong. Sila Tanka Nakhala. Tanka especially, Tanka is like a chisel. So his fingernails are so strong, they are like chisel. Because to cut through the stone, you need the chisel. You can't have a normal razor blade or a kitchen knife to tow it apart. You need a chisel and a hammer to bang it into it. So his fingernails are like that chisel, very, very sharp, that can cut through the hard heart of Hiranyakashipu. And then Ito Narasimha, Parato Narasimha. So Ito Narasimha, Parato Narasimha. If I see here Narasimha, if I see there is Narasimha. This is Prahlada's vision. Ito Narasimha, Parato Narasimha, Yato Yato, Yami Tato Narasimha. Yami means I. So wherever I go, Yato Yato. If I go here, if I go there is only Lord. So this is a vision of a pure devotee. A vision of a pure devotee is who can see the Lord anywhere, everywhere. Wherever he goes, there is Krishna. This is Prabhupada also demonstrated to us. Bahir Narasimha, Hirdaye Narasimha. Not only wherever he goes, there is the presence of the Lord. Bahir means outside, but Hirdaya as well. So if you don't go anywhere in the lockdown, if you are inside your house, then again Narasimha Dev is there. So no need to go anywhere. If your temple is locked out, we can't go to the temple because of contact tracing and whatever, then still Lord is there inside the heart. Now there is a comparison here, because the heart of the Hiranyakashipu was explained as very hard-hearted, and there is no presence of the Lord there, apart from, of course, the super soul. But the heart of Prahlada Maharaj, there is always Narasimha Dev inside. So outside he can see Narasimha Dev in the khamba, in the pillar. Inside he can also see Narasimha Dev. So that's a pure devotee. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Sharanam means to surrender. So again I surrender to the Lord. So he started with Dandavats, Namaste Narasimhaya, and now we are at the Dandavats, at the Sharanagati stage. So all there. Then Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakham. So Tavakara. So Tava is your Tavakara. Kamala is lotus, we know that. Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakham. Again we are back to the fingernails. His fingernails are very beautiful, which are on his lotus-like hand. Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakham. Adbhuta Shringa. We know Shringa is beautiful and Adbhut is wonderful. So the Lord's fingernails, which were compared to chisels, to cut through the stone-like heart of Hiranyakashipu, is now the other way, because it was strong for Hiranyakashipu, but it is like lotus-like softness and beauty for Prahlada Maharaj. Again another comparison, Our acharyas write the prayers in such a beautiful way, So this is what was very hard for Hiranyakashipu is very soft for Prahlada Maharaj. So Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakham Adbhuta Shringa, very beautiful. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa. So Dalita Hiranyakashipu, Dalita is to tear apart, to fiercely tear it apart. Dalita Hiranyakashipu to Tanu Bringa. Tan is our body. We say tan, In the word tan is our body. So that beautiful fingernails of the Lord, which is like lotus, which can also be as equally hard as a chisel, just tore apart the body of Narasimha Dev, of Hiranyakashipu. Very easily just tore apart, just with the fingernails. Nothing else was required. No guns, no bow, no arrow, no gada, nothing, no chakra, nothing. Just fingernails is enough. Tanu Bringa. And why Bringa? Bringa is like the wasp, not like any small insect. If you have a small insect, then if you want to kill, of course devotees will kill the insect, but if somebody wants to kill a small insect, how much effort is required? Do you need a gun to shoot? Or do you need bow and arrow? Do you need, a mask? Nothing is required. People will just get the insect between their fingers and then just tear it apart. So that's how easily Narasimha Dev is tearing apart Hiranyakashipu, Tanu Bringa. Then Keshavadherta Nara Hari Rupa. So he is Nara and Hari. Narasimha Dev is half lion, half man, full god. Half lion, half man, but full god, Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakham Adbhuta Shringa. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa. Keshavadherta Nara Hari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. So now we glorify. Jai Jagadish means glorify. Glorify that Jagadish, So three things again in this prayer. There is Danvats, there is benediction, there is Sharanagati, there is glorification. So a lot of things are there. Okay. So Prabhupada talks about Bhakti is the solution in his purport. And I'll talk about that, then I'll stop, and I'll take some questions. So Prabhupada talks about Bhakti is the solution. We see that, and Prabhupada talks about the young couple. The young couple who has been newly married, they may have all the opulence, but their greatness is of nothing unless it is connected to the Lord. And we see this now, because at the modern times, a lot of effort goes into increasing our standard of living. People want to have a better standard of living. All those sophisticated gadgets are coming out, equipments are coming out. Houses are also becoming very sophisticated. Just that we can have a standard, just that they measure the standard of living. Sporty cars. Cars purpose is to take us from destination A to destination B. But it has to be sports cars, with mag wheels and those mufflers, exhaust that will make all those screeching sound and all that. So all these things are being glamorized, just so that people can buy it and they think that these things can make people happy. Gadgets, different gadgets. I had a friend, who was saying, that this is in my office, that he's got a, still share, he's got a bed which has got aquarium on top of it. You believe it? I just didn't know that there can be beds with aquarium on top of it. So, there is all that sound coming and then the fishes are roaming around. And I got little intrigued. Not that I was interested. I don't even have a space for the bed in the house. My house is so small. What to speak about having a bed with an aquarium in it. So then I Googled, beds with aquarium. And I Googled it literally. You try to Google if you have time, 1 minute. My goodness, the type of beds that are there with aquarium. There's one bed I saw, it's like made of aquarium only. It's like there's water under the bed, water under the side, water on the arms of the bed, and then water on the top, and then the bed goes like this. Like that caravan van which has got canopy on top. So it's like almost like that. The entire thing is like made of glass and water, and all these aquatics, Jasana, remember? We landed. All these aquatics are going through that bed, and then he's sleeping hopefully peacefully in that bed. Standard of living. What do you think will be his destination in his next life? I think we can be all very certain what life he will get in his next body. Pretty confident. You ask Bhakta Prahlada, the student in Yamunalila Mataji's class, even he will tell what is the destination of this particular materialistic person. So all these sophistications are there. Remote control, you press it, the garage opens, you press it, then the vacuum cleaner starts working, you press, everything is just press yati, you just press the button and things start working. And when we don't want to walk or talk, then we don't want to walk or press, then you just say it now, and then Siri will say something. Hey Siri, what is the weather today? It's 18 degrees. Would you like some more information about today's weather? Like that. So everything is just so sophisticated now. So standard of living. But what our scriptures tell us that it is not the standard of living that matters. This is the standard of life that matters. There's a difference between standard of living and standard of life. Our standard of life is measured with our bhakti. We can have glorious standard of living, but that is of no greatness, is what we saw, unless there is a standard of life. And standard of life is, Prabhupada told us how to have a standard of life. Simple living, high thinking. Live simply. Don't worry about even having an aquarium bed. Don't even have a bed to start with. Sleep on the floor. Just take a mattress, and sleep on the floor, and your sleep will be peaceful. Don't need all this. Brahmacharis are smiling because they are accustomed to this. So simple living. Don't even have a pillow if there is none. Just put your handrest as your pillow. Very, very simple living, but high thinking. But what the modern household life is about, not simple living, but simply living. It's again another difference, yeah. Prabhupada said simple living. He didn't say simply living. Simply living is the standard of living. Just very, very high standard of living. So high that literally you go to the 108 stories, that the biggest tower in Melbourne on City Road, the new one. 108 stories. What is it called? The Melbourne Tower only now? Yeah, the Southern Star. The one on Melbourne City Road. Previously it was, in my time there was before my time there was another Rialto Tower. That was our time. Then for the next generation it was Eureka Tower. Now there is, I think it's called Melbourne Tower only. And then I was reading recently, the reason I know is because when I was working in my old job, this was, I could see the construction of this building right from underground going all the way up. So I saw it up till almost like the 60th story, and then I moved office, and then of course lockdown. So anyway, so I was recently reading that in that building, now there is creaking sound coming. My goodness, imagine living on 100 stories and there is creaking sound coming, because the building is designed for earthquake proof, these days, the tall buildings. So the building sways literally. Apparently it is said that at the top the building can sway 1 meter this way and 1 meter this way in wind. I really don't understand how it works. It's science, this architectural science is behind me, but it's like something the building sways and you don't feel it. And of course we are used to it, because when we go in the lift, we don't feel the lift is going up 10 stories, but the lift is going up. So that motion that you don't feel, or like sitting in an aeroplane when it is going at 1,000 kilometers per hour, you don't feel that the aeroplane is moving. You feel that the cloud is moving, but the aeroplane is stagnant. So like that, the building sways and you don't feel it. So anyway, with the swaying of the building, they are saying that there are creaking sounds coming. And you can't do much about it, because what the builders are doing these days, apparently, they are using cheap materials and to make things more cheaper and more quicker. And the regulation is not caught up, blah, blah, blah. So something like that, yeah? And things go pear-shaped. So a standard of living is so high that it's literally living high as well, into the clouds. But the standard of life is, not as per the devotional aspects that we know. So that's, Vidura tells Parikshit Maharaj, Vidura tells Maitreya Muni the same thing, that Sukhaya karmani karoti loko, nate sukham vanyaduparam mamma, Vindeta bhuiyastadeva dukkham yad yatra yuktam bhagavan vadenaha. Sukhaya karmani karoti loko. Everybody is looking for happiness, sukhaya karmani karoti loko. Nate sukham vanyaduparamama. But they are not getting happiness. Nate sukham. Vindeta bhuiyam yadatra yaktam yad yatra bhagavan vadena. Hey Bhagavan, hey Maitreya Muni, is there any solution to this? And then we see the famous verse from Maitreya Muni again in Canto 3. Shraddhadhanasya vivardhamana viraktimanyatra karoti pumsham harer padanushmriti nirvitasya samasta dukkhapayam ashudhatte. So, when we take the lotus, when we take the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, then samasta dukkhapayam ashudhatte. Then all our miseries can go away. We can fix our standard of life. So our focus has to be on our standard of life by taking the shelter of the Lord in association with the devotees, hearing Krishna Katha. Then our problems start going away. Otherwise, we are like the crocodile, which could be very powerful, but we are out of the water, and therefore we become powerless. So I will stop there. I'll just want to briefly mention that I think today there are three key things mentioned on our Vaishnava calendar, Melbourne calendar as well. Today is Guru Purnima, the auspicious day of appreciating our spiritual masters, and certainly Srila Prabhupada. So our day to remember our spiritual masters. And today is the disappearance day of Srila Sanatana Goswami. I don't think there is fasting. So anyway, there is today disappearance day, and we know the glories of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. And today also marks the first day of the beginning of the Chaturmasya. So first month of the 4 months, holy months coming, special months coming. So today is the fasting from those who are particular and hardcore about these things. Then today is the fasting. Today marks the beginning of the fasting from green leaf festivals. Yeah, did I get that right? Green leaf festivals. Now I'm going to leave about fasting from green leaves and yogurt and all that to the senior devotees. I think we all have had various aspects about this. What did Srila Prabhupada exactly say about this? I'll confess that I don't know. So better to listen from some senior devotees and take guidance from them. What to fast and what not to fast, how much to fast and how much not to fast. But what we can do, and that part I can speak on, is definitely do more of Krishna consciousness. Whatever we did yesterday, let's try to do little bit extra today, because today is the beginning of the 4 months. And then whatever we do today, when it comes tomorrow when we wake up, let's all do little bit extra tomorrow. So that day we can always, little extra. So literally when we wake up, we can recollect quickly, what did we do yesterday about our Krishna consciousness? Okay, so what is one thing extra that we will do today? Which could be extra rounds, extra service, extra reading, one more verse to memorize, little bit more bhoga to the Lord, association would something extra we'll do, and then we keep doing extra and extra for the 4 months. Then that is our gradual purification of and intensification of Krishna consciousness. What not to do, what not to fast from, and all those things, I'm not an expert on that, so I'll stay away from that. With that, I'll stop. I can take 1 or 2 questions and corrections and comments, if there is any. Okay, somebody was remembering. So why is here? So the question from Jaraman Prabhu is, what can you talk about what was mentioned? Why young couple? Why not old couple? Yeah. So I had to research, and we are talking about this in amidst all the brahmacharis who don't even know what couple life means. But very briefly, for the benefit of the virtual audience, I did some research on this, because that was my inherent question as well. Why young couples? Because all the couples, generally grihamedis are attached to each other. And then I found the answer. It is said young couple because young couples have less responsibility compared to the elder couples. So when we get married, for those of us who are married, in the beginning, before marriage, if it's a love marriage, then it's all hunky-dory, the boy and the girl are just completely attached to each other. Nothing, they'll leave their parents if anybody comes in between them. I'll leave my house and run away is how they will, threaten their parents like that. They'll just literally just want to be together. And once they get married, in the initial days, it's all romance. No, not much responsibilities, because at the beginning, life is good, just do it. So all romance. But that is in the young days. But when the kids come, when the children are born, then life changes completely. Then the romance disappears. They'll have to make effort to make marriage life more romantic. Otherwise the romance disappears. Because all the focus starts going on the uptake of and the upbringing of the children. Right from the beginning, the moment the child is born, until the child is married, and after even that, the mother and the father are always anxious about the child. And I'm speaking from my own realization, trust me. There's just so much effort that goes into looking after them. Then when they are toddlers, babies and toddlers, that you pray to the Lord that, oh my Lord, when will my child become 8, 9, 10 years old, so that I don't have to worry about him at every single step. Because at the moment, if I go somewhere, he'll come with me. If you do something, he'll do it with you. If you want to sleep, you can't until he's sleeping or she's sleeping. So every moment is going on just with the child. But so you pray intensely to the Lord that when my child becomes 8, 9, 10 years, teenager, I'll become blissful, because all the problems will be solved. And when the child becomes a teenager, then your prayer intensifies to the Lord. Oh my Lord, problem has taken another 10 now. There is more problems. Why can the child become smaller again? Because that problem was better than this problem. I'm not saying children are bad, don't get me wrong. Children are beautiful. But this is the phase that everybody goes through. And perhaps some of us may have been naughty as well to our own parents. So like that, life just throws googly at us at any point in time, so all this. But anyway, back to the point, when the couple is young, less responsibilities, less problems. And then as the marriage life grows and their time grows, families come, then in-laws start coming, then the child starts coming, then the child's husband, child's girlfriend, child's wife, child's will come. So all these problems will come. So at the beginning, the young couple may think they are great, because they are careless about everything else. But here we see that greatness is of no value unless it is connected with the Lord. Otherwise, having less problems in Grihastha life itself is of no value. The problems is of no value, neither no problems are of no value. It is all useless until it is connected with the Lord. Is that okay? Park it here. We'll park it here. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.